Alright, so today I'm going over you can't see that. There we go. The using trig ratios worksheet that is online. I'm going to go over numbers 1, 5, and 6. So starting with number 1, you have your right triangle. We have an unknown angle x, and then we know the side that's adjacent to angle x is 38, and we know the hypotenuse is 49. The thing that we don't know is an angle. Since we don't know an angle, we're going to use inverse trig. So we're going backwards. Instead of putting in angles and getting out side lengths, in the ratios of the side lengths, we're going to be putting in side lengths that we do know and get out the angle. So typically, we would be putting cosine of our angle, you can use parentheses, equals the adjacent over the hypotenuse, which in this case would be 38 over 49. But this doesn't get out what we don't know. So I'm going to have to do cosine inverse with a little tiny 1 on it. Instead of inputting an angle, I'm going to do the inverse and input the sides and then get out the angle degree measure. Okay, so to plug in what we do know, we know cosine inverse, the adjacent side is 38, the hypotenuse is 49, and then you just type all of that in your calculator. So you have your cosine button. Above it should be a little cosine inverse 1. And so if you click your second, let's turn it on. If I hit second inverse cosine, now I can just type in 38 divided by 49. So you can close out your parentheses, so it looks like that. Hit enter, and you end up with a degree of 39.15 degrees is the measure of angle x, or you can just say x. Both would work for this case. All right, so that's number 1. I'm also going to go over 5 and then 6 after this. So for 5, this is our triangle. It's a right triangle. We know 40. We know the 74 degrees, and we don't know the n. So 74 is the angle. We do know that. We also know the adjacent side length, and then we have the opposite side length labeled. So since it's dealing with an opposite and an adjacent, I'm going to be using tangent. Now we know the angle, so I just need regular tangent of that angle to be opposite over adjacent. I want to get the n by itself, so I need to undo that division. So I'm going to multiply by 40 on both sides. 40 divided by 40 makes 1, and this whole line gets typed into my calculator. So I'm going to be typing 40 times, hit my tangent button, and then do 74, close out my parentheses, hit enter. So I should end up with n equals 139.50. This is a side length, so whatever units we were using, you would tack those on to the end value. All right, and moving on to 6. Remember, you can pause the video or rewind it at any moment. If I'm going too fast, you can pause it. Try this one on your own if you want. Here's m degrees, 16 is my hypotenuse, 9 is across from the angle m, so it's my opposite side. Again, I don't know an angle, so I'm going to use inverse trig. This is the opposite side, this is the hypotenuse. Which trig function uses opposite and hypotenuse? Sine. So instead of using regular sine, though, I'm using inverse sine. So I'm going to be hitting the second button for this in my calculator. Just like in cosine inverse from up here, I'm going to be putting in the side length values and then getting out the angle. So I'm going to put in the opposite over the hypotenuse. I'm going to be getting out the angle. So that whole thing goes in my calculator. Inverse sine of 9 divided by 16. And I end up with 34.23. This is a degree. And so that's the answer is equal to m is 34.23.